Hey good people, welcome to Melanated Vibrations, a new show that celebrates the diversity and richness of Black culture. Join us as we delve into our individual mental health and overall mental health of our community. From the latest trends to the timeless coping mechanisms, we'll showcase the best of what it means to be mentally healthy. So sit back, relax, and get ready to feel the vibrations of Black excellence. Let's get started. Welcome to Melanated Vibrations, where we explore topics related to mental health and well-being. Our discussions may delve into sensitive subjects that could be triggering for certain members of our audience. It's important to note that while I am a clinician, I am not acting as your personal clinician through this podcast. If you find any content uncomfortable or distressing, we encourage you to prioritize your mental health. Reach out to a licensed clinician who can provide you with personalized support tailored to your specific needs, and your well-being is of utmost importance. Additionally, if you are in immediate distress or need urgent assistance, please contact your local emergency services. For free and confidential support available nationwide, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Trained professionals are available 24/7 to provide assistance and connect you with resources in your community. Remember, seeking help is a sign of strength, and there are caring individuals ready to support you on your journey to mental wellness. Thank you for being part of our community, and take care of yourself.
I was so excited to greet you guys and didn't realize I was on mute. Hey guys, welcome to Melanated Vibrations. It's Monday, but better than it being Monday, it's Black History Month. Y'all know how I was coming. Y'all already know. This show started a year ago during Black History Month. And why not? It's called Melanated Vibrations. Y'all see I got the shirt on today. Dope Black mental health counselor. Okay. Yeah, that's the kind of energy I am bringing. I hope everyone had a great Monday. If you are still having your Monday, you are at work. Thank you for tuning in. How was you guys' weekend? What did you guys do? I missed you guys last week. I was on vacation. I was in Vegas. So I was not able to join you guys last week, but I'm back. You know, first Monday of Black History Month. So we're going to start it off real spicy. So I hope you guys had a great weekend. If you are on the live, please make sure you tag your folks in. It's going to be a great show tonight. Make sure that if you're on YouTube, it is not in Vegas. I don't know what's happening. My Wi-Fi isn't even on. Hey, Jay Boogie. Maybe I should turn my Wi-Fi on. Maybe that'll help. Thank you, bro. Yes, anniversary. Let's try turning the Wi-Fi on. Let's see if that works. I don't know. I got nothing for you. Let me know if you guys can see me, if I'm glitching or not. But I'm super excited about this month. Hey, Lil. So good to see you guys. If you are on YouTube, make sure you go and subscribe to the Big Exclusive Network YouTube channel, okay, where all the shows are at. Okay, you hear what I'm saying? So you make sure y'all go and subscribe. Okay, listen, okay, you don't want to miss what is coming to the BEN. That's all I'm saying. I just, you know, I ain't trying to be nobody's hype man, but what I'm telling you is, okay, if you are on YouTube, do yourself a favor. Memberships are available. You are going to click the join button on YouTube and you are going to pay a monthly subscription, we have a brand new show coming to the network in March. My girl, my friend, Tiffany Ann, our El Presidente of the BEN, Sex Parent with Tiffany Ann. When I tell you, I know it's going to be spicy. Like, I need you guys to go on YouTube right now and hit the join button, pay the subscription, right? We pay for a lot of things. We've got a lot of subscriptions, right? We got Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, all this stuff, and won't even watch half of the stuff. What I'm telling you is you're not going to want to miss this, okay? You're going to get your money's worth with this, okay? So if you're on YouTube, that is the only place you're going to be able to find this amazing show that is coming to the BEN is on YouTube. So please go to the Big Exclusive Network. Make sure you hit the join button, pay the monthly subscription. It's going to be dope. All of our shows are on the BEN. Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right? Listen. Okay, Big Exclusive. Thank you. So I needed my Wi-Fi. All right. Listen, y'all don't want to miss it, okay? So not only do we have Tiff Show, we have Melanated Vibrations that comes to you guys. Let me just get this little green highlighted gives you that. Exactly. Period. Okay, so we have Melanated Vibrations. It's your girl Dom, the therapist, coming to you every Monday at 7. And then on Tuesdays, we have the big, look at that flyer. Then we got the Big Exclusive podcast, okay? With Big Exclusive himself, Angry OG, and Top Flight, and whatever special guests. Listen, they don't even need guests on their show, okay? Because they're going to bring fire. They're going to bring straight heat. Hence why they got the microphone with the fire surrounding it. It's going to be dusty, capital D, but it is going to be informative. It is going to be fun. And it feels good to be a part of the family. You guys can catch me in the comments and sometimes on the show, but catch me in the comments on Tuesday at 7 on the Big Exclusive podcast. Then you go jump on over there to Thursday, right? To my brother's show, the Ant Money Experience, where y'all know he choosing violence. Okay, each and every Thursday at 7 p.m. on the Big Exclusive network. He gonna choose violence. He gonna be dusty. He gonna pour his wine. We share that in common. He gonna put his bandana on. He said what he said, and don't correct him. Okay, he don't like to be corrected. So you guys, we have shows after shows after shows for you to watch to get you guys through the week. I'm super excited, to be a part of this African American network. This African American network, and given that it's Black History Month, you know how we coming, okay? So I have an announcement for you guys, and I'm going to make it a little bit later. I'm super excited. It is about a celebration that the BEN and I are collabing with to celebrate my 1-year anniversary of Melanated Vibrations. So I'm bringing into this space, I'm going to set my intention as excitement. I'm bringing into this space excitement. I was very excited to write this topic tonight, to present it to you guys. It is something that is actually my specialty. So tonight we are talking trauma. We are talking types of trauma, how they affect you. What does PTSD look like? Because I think that's the only thing that people really know about trauma. When people think trauma, they automatically think PTSD. So we're going to dive into that, but we're going to talk about the 3 categories or 3 types of trauma, or where they fall into those categories. So I'm super excited. But before we dive in, I would like to do a positive affirmation. But again, because it's Black History Month, of course, it's got to be all Black excellence tonight. So we're going to drop a video with Taraji P. Henson where she talks about mental health.
I felt pressure to be strong as a Black woman in Hollywood because I kept hearing that term. Everyone kept saying, be a strong Black woman, strong Black woman. Then I realized that's a myth. It means that I'm some superhuman in some kind of way where nothing affects me, and that is so far from the truth. Sometimes I don't want to be strong. Sometimes the weight is just too much, And to put on that facade like you're strong all the time, that's exactly what it is, a facade. That's whack. You have to be human. And human means you're vulnerable. And human means you're layered.
And that's it, right? We are always told to be strong this, strong that, especially as an African American woman. That is the term, right? Strong Black woman. But sometimes I don't want to be strong all the time. Like I want to have a weak moment. I don't want that title all the time, because it does come with so much. So as Taraji said, allow yourself to be vulnerable. We are human. Feel those emotions. As I always tell you guys, sit in them, but don't stay there. Feel what you need to feel in the moment, process how you process it. Hoping that if you guys have unhealthy coping skills, unhealthy coping mechanisms, that you guys will find coping skills that are healthy. And you'll see the difference. You will slowly begin to see the difference. So let's dive into the topic tonight. Types of trauma and PTSD. So, what is trauma, right? We hear it all the time. Some of us have experienced trauma. And so, I gave a disclaimer at the beginning of the show for those that, got here on time, for those that did not. The disclaimer is that while, yes, I am a clinician, I am not your acting clinician, and that a lot of things that we talk about on this show, because it is mental health, may be triggering for you guys. And so if you ever feel overwhelmed with emotion or triggered by anything that we talk about on this show, please feel free to prioritize your mental health and excuse yourself from listening. I appreciate you tuning in. But I just want to make sure that no one unravels, because I can't get to you. I'm on this side of the camera. I can't get to you. So I want to make sure that everyone that is in my audience are, you're safe at all times. Again, your mental health is of the utmost importance to us, and we want to make sure that you take time for you. So with that being said, tonight may be triggering for some because we are talking about trauma. So you think about trauma. What is trauma? A lot of us have experienced trauma. A lot of us have gone through things in life, either in our childhood, adolescent years, teenage years, mid or young adult to mid to even older, for those that are older, right? And so we've all kind of experienced trauma one way or the other. I don't think there's one person walking on this face of the earth that hasn't experienced trauma in some way. And trauma comes in many different forms. It could be a car accident. It could be, unfortunately, sexual abuse. It could be a natural disaster. Like, look at the people of Katrina. They are still dealing with the residual effects of Katrina. Not sure if anyone's ever been to New Orleans, but if you have, I went a few years ago, and this was years after Katrina, and you still could see the watermarks on the houses. And I remember my Uber driver saying, like, the Ninth Ward, we don't take people to the Ninth Ward. Like, if you're not from here, we're not taking you to the Ninth Ward. And a lot of people moved back in to the Ninth Ward and all of those communities that they knew for their entire life. Some people left. Some people could not go back because it just was so traumatizing to them. So to this day, there are people that are still impacted by Katrina, Sandy, and all the other natural disasters that happened, car accidents, anything that you can think of could be considered trauma. So let's dive in. So what is trauma? So trauma is an event or circumstance that results in physical, emotional, or life-threatening harm. Okay. So individuals with trauma may experience challenges that impact their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and their overall well-being. Trauma can affect a person at any age, whether they are a child or an adult. So trauma is not something that is just tailored to one age group, one ethnicity, one race. It is literally something that anyone can experience at any time of their lives. Now, we will talk about the different types of trauma, and is it chronic? Is it acute? Is it complex trauma? Has one thing happened to you in your life that you kind of just held on to? Or does it seem like you're just walking around with a black cloud over your head and all of these things just seem to happen to you throughout your life? Are these traumatic experiences? I always say, living in Philadelphia, whether you have experienced gun violence personally, we all suffer from vicarious trauma. And we'll get into that. Vicarious trauma, though, in short, is basically trauma that you experience through the lens of someone else. So if someone else has experienced the loss of someone due to gun violence, you may be close to them, or you constantly see it. If you live in a city like Philadelphia or Chicago, where that is just what it is, or Detroit, every single day it seems like someone is losing their life, you will suffer from vicarious trauma. Look at the cop killings on Black and brown people, because again, it's Black History Month, so we're going to talk about all of it. The killings of innocent Black and brown people every day by the hands of those who were supposed to protect and serve. Thank you. Hey, Sonia. Thank you, Tiff. sitting there watching those killings, watching the Breonna Taylors of the world and the George Floyds, and Ahmaud Arbery's, and the list goes on, like the Sandra Bland's, like there's so many, right? Like, where do you even start? Absolutely, Tay Boogie, we all do, right? And it's how you deal with that trauma. And so every day, it's traumatic. I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Being Black in America is hard. I don't know about y'all. Like, driving in my car, cops get behind me. I know everything is legit, right? I know my registration is up to date. I know my insurance is up to date. I know my license is not suspended, but it's still that fear that you get, that tense feeling that your body begins to fear. Not so much because maybe even something happened to you with the police, but again, vicarious trauma. You look at the fact that every time a Black and brown person gets pulled over by the cops, they may or may not walk out of that alive. And so we see these things on social media. We see them on the news. CNN is blasting it everywhere. It's on every major news station. And we begin to feel those emotions that others feel or felt in that moment. So I'm going to show you guys a quick video on trauma.
A big myth about trauma treatment is you have to relive it in order to get over it. That's not how it works. The best treatments for PTSD and trauma do three things. They empower you. People who've experienced trauma feel like choices were taken away from them. Good treatment respects individuals, gives them choices, and affirms who they are. They encourage safety. The best trauma treatments make someone feel safe in the room. They teach people ways to regain a sense of control over your emotions, and they discuss how community might make someone feel more or less safe. They give you a new perspective. Good trauma treatment will help you understand who you were, who you are, and who you want to be.
So listen, right? If you ever experienced trauma, you ever been to therapy, sometimes therapists will use what is called exposure therapy, right? That's one of the ways that therapists will try to help someone get over like a phobia or some type of traumatic experience. Not so much, right? Like he said, there are other ways. As a clinician, it is our jobs to protect our clients. And so when it comes to trying to treat trauma, what we do not want to do is have that person relive it, right? And then spiral. So I learned a long time ago during grad school. I think I was in my practicum, and my professor we refer to clients as onions, right? So you guys are onions. And so when you come to therapy, you're an onion. The goal is to peel back layers. No one takes an onion and just peels all the layers off at once to get to the core. That's just not what happens with onions, right? If you use onions, if you're a cooker, you take off maybe the first 2 layers, depending on how the onion is, and then you begin to chop your onion. But your onion is still very thick. There's still layers to that onion. And so we never want to expose a person to the traumatic experience because everyone is going to respond and to react differently. The goal is to acknowledge that it happened and then find healthy ways to deal with that traumatic experience. So if you're in therapy, you're for trauma or anything, right? And they're trying to do exposure therapy and you feel like it's making you uncomfortable, that's a key sign that maybe the therapist is not as experienced as you would need them to be. Trauma is very, very touchy. It's like, I'll give you guys a prime example. Dealing with trauma, show my age a little bit, right? Does anybody remember the game Operation, right? Great game. They still make it. They got some added pieces. I was like, what the hell is this? I don't know what this is. But think about operations. In operations, if you take the tweezers, or a little, surgical tool, the goal is to get out whatever it is that you're trying to get out, right? But if you touch the sides or anything, it goes off. You lose the game, you lost your turn, it's the next person's turn. That is what trauma looks like, where we have things inside of us that as therapists, we try to get out of you guys. But we have to do it very delicately, because if we don't and we push the wrong buttons, we say the wrong thing, then that person begins to relive that moment and they may spiral. And while, yes, you may be able to get that person back in control in that session, you don't know what happens to that person when they leave. So usually when I'm doing therapy with someone and we are talking about something traumatic, exactly. Like all of those things that your body begins to feel. And so what I try to do is, if we're going to talk about something traumatic, I peel back the layers very slow, but I end the session on a positive note. So I talk about, give me a positive memory, or I may even do a grounding technique where I get a sound machine. Where do you want to be? You want to be at the beach? Do you like the rain? Do you like the thunder? And then I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, which I've done here before, where now I need to center that person and ground that person, because you really can get worked up when you are in therapy and you are talking about things that have happened to you that are traumatic. It can be things that happened to you as a childhood. It can be things that happen to you in relationships that you may have been in, dating, marriage, friendships, anything. Trauma is not just something that happens between you as a child and your parents. Trauma can happen between all scopes of any type of interpersonal relationship. So keep that in mind. So what is type 1 trauma, right? Type 1 trauma refers to an unexpected single incident trauma. So just one event that kind of just changed your life. So type 1 trauma is referred to as big T. That's big T, right? Or acute trauma. It is commonly related to PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. With acute trauma, even if it was just one event, the experience was so overwhelming that it left the nervous system stuck in a threat response. Being in a constant state of alert can cause several health problems, such as anxiety and high blood pressure. So when we talk about trauma responses, and you always hear the term fight or flight, that is a trauma response. So fight, flight, fawn, freeze, flop, those are the 5 trauma responses. And they say it's like 7. I think they added 2 more. We're still working that out in the mental health world. We'll say it's 5. So what is your trauma response? How do you respond when trauma happens? How do you respond when you're afraid? How do you respond when you are in a tight situation and your back is up against the wall? Told you guys this. My trauma response is fight. I'm sure you guys knew that, right? So my trauma response is fight. I am already and always willing to defend myself at all costs, right? Because in my mind, I got a kid I need to make it back home to, and that is what is going to happen. But some people's trauma response is freeze, where literally they will freeze. They won't move. They won't say anything. They will just freeze. You have people that will flop. It's exactly what it sounds like. They'll get themselves or be in a situation and they'll literally just flop and drop to the ground, to the floor, to the car, whatever. They will just drop, because in their mind, if they just fall, people won't see them and it'll just go away, right? So those are trauma responses, fight or flight. How do you respond? So some examples of type 1 traumatic events could be violent or sexual assault, life-threatening illness or serious illness, the traumatic loss of a loved one or someone close to you. That can be traumatic. Not only are you grieving that person, but you can have trauma around losing someone or even losing people repeatedly. Okay, so you get silent when your back is up against the corner. A lot of people do that, right? They don't know what to say. They don't really have anything to say. They can't get their words together, so they just stay silent. They just say nothing. It's kind of like the freeze response, where nothing happens. They just stay silent. Witnessing violence. Again, living in Philadelphia, right? Chicago, Detroit, all those major cities where crime is on the rise. A crime or an accident. Natural disaster. Childbirth. Childbirth can be traumatic, people. I don't want nobody to be like, oh, how is you chose to have it? Listen, yeah, we may have chose to bring this life forward, but listen, pushing out a baby it's not all glitz and glams and unicorns of what people think it is. Okay, for all the women out there that, hey, Deandra, that are mothers, childbirth can be a traumatic experience, because it's so many things that can go wrong for you, for the baby. The umbilical cord could get wrapped around the baby. Your blood pressure could drop. The baby's blood pressure could drop. Heart rate could stop. Like, it is literally a traumatic experience, and your body is going through all of that. Or a suicide attempt. Trying to commit suicide and it did not work for you could be a traumatic event, even though it is something that you made a decision to do or try to do. That is where the trauma comes from, because you had it all planned out and it did not go as planned, and now you are traumatized by the suicidal attempt. You are trying to unalive yourself and it did not work. So, how long can acute trauma last? Acute trauma can be different for every person, right? So some may experience effects of trauma that last for months, while others may still experience effects of trauma for years. Acute stress disorder occurs when a person experiences a traumatic event or witnesses one. So they experience it or they witness one. Witnessing a traumatic event can cause vicarious trauma. We just talked about that, which can significantly impact a person's life. Symptoms of acute stress disorder typically last a month. So, acute or big T trauma, they don't call it acute trauma. They call it acute stress disorder. If you look it up in the DSM-5, that is what it is called, ASD, acute stress disorder. So, what are the physical, emotional, and psychological symptoms of acute trauma? What does it look like? So someone that has suffered a single traumatic event, as the ones I've just listed, the effects could be irritability, anxiety, difficulty concentrating, flashbacks of the events, avoidance, where you kind of just avoid going to that place that reminds you of that traumatic event, difficulty sleeping, nightmares, intrusive memories, or dissociation. These are all the physical, emotional, and psychological symptoms of acute trauma. This is what it could look like for you. So now the second type of trauma that we're going to talk about is chronic trauma. Now, chronic trauma is when a person experiences repeated, prolonged traumatic events. So remember, acute or big T trauma is one single event. Chronic trauma could be experiencing a repeated and a prolonged traumatic event. An example of chronic, wow, Tay Boogie, thank you for that transparency. So let's talk about examples of chronic trauma. So again, remember, it's repeated and it's prolonged traumatic events. Number one example, domestic abuse. That is a repeated traumatic event, and it is prolonged. It's, depending on how long you were in that situation, whether it is when you were a child, your parents abused you, or your caretaker. Let's just not assume it was parents, caretakers. People have lived with their grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. If you're in a relationship with a partner, men and women, let me be clear, ladies, I be on y'all side every other time. Men are victims of abuse too, okay? It is not just us. Men can be victims of abuse too. Sometimes, ladies, y'all don't know how to keep your hands to yourselves, okay? We're going to leave that there. War. Think about war. War is repeated and it's prolonged. Violence of any sort. Chronic illness. You think about cancer. You might beat it and then it comes back, and then they say, oh, it's benign, and then it comes back, and you're going through the treatment, and you're going through this for years. That Lil, it has a lot of faces, right? Things that we don't even think about. We don't even, we don't even look at it as traumatic, because for a lot of us, it just becomes the norm. It just becomes our everyday. So we don't even look at it as a traumatic event. It just becomes, listen, we just roll with the punches. We just keep going and living the life, right? Neglect. Neglect is a form or an example of chronic trauma. Listen, that part, that's a whole other conversation, Tay Boogie, and I'm gonna have to have you come on for that show, because I agree. We as women have to learn to let a man be a man, and learn to create a safe space. Dear women, Black History Month, dear Black women, okay? We have to learn to create a safe space for our men and not weaponize it the moment they piss us off, okay? I don't know who needed to hear that, but for the people in the back, let me say it again. We have to learn to create a safe space for our men and then not weaponize it the moment we get into another argument and we throw it in their face. So then when they shut down and they don't tell us anything, yeah, Sonia, listen, it's repetitive, and some people never get out of that loop, but I do think that there is hope for everyone. That's why I always encourage you guys to go to therapy, seek a licensed professional, a clinician like myself, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and get the help you need. But seriously, ladies, okay? Safe space. That's what we doing. February, right? It's the love month. Safe space. Don't weaponize. Y'all can take with that what y'all want. That's just how I'm doing it for me and mine. That's it. That's all I'm saying. So what can chronic trauma do to a person? So chronic trauma can impact the person's mental health, make it hard to get through everyday life. You're welcome, Big Exclusive. And affect how a person views themselves and others. The impact of trauma can last for months or years. In severe cases, it can lead to self-harm or suicidal ideations and chronic trauma. Remember, because chronic trauma is repeated and it is prolonged. So for some people, if they've been in it for so long and they don't see another way out, some people will try to unalive themselves just so they don't have to deal with it. So what are the physical, emotional, and psychological symptoms of chronic trauma? So some signs may include feelings of shame and guilt, trouble regulating your emotions, chronic pain, anxiety disorder, or depression. Right. So you think about it, right? When you are feeling scared or nervous or something traumatic has happened to you, your body responds in a certain way. And so if you are experiencing chronic trauma and it's repeated, right, and it's prolonged, your body will begin to feel that trauma. It could be constant headaches. It could be constant stomach aches. It could be just your body just feeling fatigue and tense. That is what it means when it says chronic pain. Like something is just, it's that deep down pain that you just can't get to. Maybe you take an Advil, maybe you take a muscle relaxer, but it helps and it doesn't help all in the same time. So that is kind of what chronic trauma is. Now we get to probably, I don't want to say favorite, but it was one of the more interesting topics for me in grad school with my major or my concentration being trauma, and that is complex trauma. A lot of people have experienced complex trauma. So complex trauma, what is it, right? Complex trauma typically occurs when a child, okay, or a young person experiences repeated trauma. Say that again. Complex trauma is when a child or a young person experiences repeated trauma. So complex trauma has to start at an early age, and then it begins to build. So compared to acute trauma, right, single event, complex trauma refers to a series of traumatic events experienced over a long period, like months or even years. So let's just get into the obvious examples of it. Childhood abuse or neglect, prolonged exposure to domestic violence, medical abuse. I can't think of the name, but it was just on social media. The young lady, mom, basically, she had Munchausen, right? The mom was making her get all these surgeries and telling her she was sick. And once one doctor would stop treating her, then she'd switch her and take her to somewhere else. And then eventually she got tired of it. And her mom became unalive. Not that she didn't do it, but she started dating a guy who unfortunately had an intellectual developmental delay. And he unalived the mom. But you know, it's tossed up, right? Some people are on the child side. Some people are like, you know, that's not the way to handle it. I'm going to stay neutral on the topic. I know y'all like to cancel folks, but that is an example of it. Medical abuse, right? Munchausen, that is a form of medical abuse. Being held captive, right? That's a complex trauma. Parentification. And I'll get into that. And living in a war zone. So parentification is I'm gonna stir the pot with this one. I know some of us have all felt it, right? For those that have siblings, those that have younger siblings growing up, right? Where your parent is not a parent. They probably didn't even want kids. They still wanted to party because they had kids very young. They wanted to do their own thing, or they're always at work, or they just never have time for you. But you got siblings. Who do you think raises those siblings? So now you have this older child who is now the parent to these younger children. And so they take on the role of the parents to the point where they don't see anything wrong with it. At first, they may complain, I want to go outside, I want to be with my friends, I want to do kid stuff, right? But then it becomes so much of the norm, because sometimes that's what happens with trauma. We stay in it so long that it just becomes a part of us. It becomes our daily living. It becomes, this is just life. This is just what happens. We don't even see it as a problem. Parentification is exactly that, where the oldest child is raising all of the children. The parents aren't really involved. They're neglectful to the child, so much so that the parent now becomes that child's parents, but now they see themselves as that parent's equal. You can't discipline me. You can't tell me what to do. I have a job. I don't know, bag up groceries or do hair, or I'm an MUA or whatever. I pay bills. And so now they are the parents. They are now parenting those younger children. And so, yeah, we could all say like, oh, we're raising our siblings. It's not your job. That was never your job. I encourage and implore whoever is listening to let that go. That was not your responsibility. I'm sure your siblings appreciate you doing the best that you could, but you were robbed of your childhood, and that is a form of complex trauma. I just actually recently heard a story about that. So as you guys know, I'm a truancy supervisor, and so we have a bunch of different like programs within the agency that I work in, and that is currently happening to one of the kids that is being serviced through the agency that I work with, where she is being parentified, where mom is kind of still young, want to do her own thing, not really there, very neglectful to all the kids. The oldest child does hair, but the mom is even like, I don't want to say pimping her out, but in a sense, the mom is making her take on all these clients so that she can have money, so that the daughter can now take care of the household. So this child has no life, cannot do things that teenagers do, and I'm sure that is what she would love to do, right? But she can't, because she has been parentified. And as I said, the last example is living in a war zone. So what does complex trauma do to a person? So complex trauma can have a significant impact on the nervous system. The brain and the body become so overwhelmed that they get stuck in fight, flight, freeze mode. We just talked about that, trauma responses. This impact and the distress that comes with trauma can take a toll on a person's mental and physical. I'm going to show you guys a video on complex trauma.
I don't know who discovered water, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't a fish. I love this quote so much. I recently heard it, and I think it captures perfectly what complex trauma actually is. I speak a lot about complex trauma on my page, and I do so for a reason, because most people don't understand what actually complex trauma really is. It's embedded in your everyday life. I call it drip trauma. I do so because it's a long duration, it repeats, it's insidious, it's persistent, it drips over your life. It drips so slowly that you don't notice it's there, and you don't notice it's completely surrounding you. So the fish doesn't know it's in water. It knows that this is its environment. And as a therapist, the first step of actually healing trauma is to notice that you're in it.
I absolutely love that video. Right? So a fish doesn't know that they're in water because it has become their environment. That is exactly what complex trauma does for us, that we live it and we stay in it so long that, again, it doesn't become a thing. It's not a problem to us. But then that also causes us that when we don't address complex trauma, and we don't deal with it and we don't acknowledge it, we begin to have those spillovers, as she says, that drip, right? it begins to drip in other parts of our lives. It begins to drip in how we relationship with others, boundaries, right? I preach boundaries to you guys all the time. If you do not deal with it, then boundaries and the lines get blurred. You don't understand the importance of self-care. It starts to have an impact on how you relationship with others. You don't address it, then there's no way for you to know, every time you get triggered by it, right? How you respond to someone else. Are you ripping their head off? And so now that person's looking at you like, wow, we was just talking about whatever. And so when you don't address it, you don't acknowledge it, it begins to drip in every part of your life. And then someone does something or they say something that, yes, it's traumatizing for you. They don't know, hey, Hannibal, that is traumatizing. You begin to respond and react, and maybe in an aggressive way, and you don't mean it, but because you're triggered by your trauma, there you go. So this is why I always encourage you guys to seek therapy. It does not have to be me, okay? But I do encourage you guys to seek a therapist. You can go on Psychology Today if you have insurance. If you got state insurance, I don't flip that damn card on the back. Private insurance through your job. I don't care what kind of insurance you got. Or if you have no insurance, there are plenty of therapists that will work with you on a sliding fee scale where they will go over what it is that you can afford to pay to see them. Your mental health should be always your biggest investment. There is not a price on your mental health. I have a fee that I charge for clients, and I have a lot of clients that cannot afford my fee. But what I am not going to do is have somebody walk out of my office and go into the world with their trauma and triggers and explode on someone because I was worrying about making my top dollar. That money's going to come. But your mental health is my utmost importance, and I do care about that. So find you a therapist. When we don't deal with things, we just keep sweeping them under the rug. Eventually, we're going to trip over that pile of dirt that we swept under the rug. And so deal with your traumas, deal with your triggers. It's not fair to you. Yeah, table. It takes a while to learn that, right? So show yourself grace and be easy on yourself. We're so used to living and functioning a certain way. We're conditioned to live and function a certain way that, again, it becomes our new norm until we're triggered by it. And now we're exploding. And now we may be trying to unalive ourselves, or we're cutting, or we're drinking too much, or we're smoking, or just doing things that we wouldn't usually do because we're spiraling. So always make sure you check in with yourself. Like I tell you guys all the time, sit with your emotions, sit in your emotions, right? God created them. Go on Google, get that feelings wheel, okay? Get the feelings wheel. Yes, Sonia, yes. Please give yourself grace. Listen, give yourself grace. Forgive yourself for what you did not know, okay? Forgive those other people for what they did not know and how they treated you, because sometimes you never get the closure you need, but that doesn't mean that you don't get the healing that you deserve. So there's that. So let's get into PTSD, kind of what everybody thinks of when they think about trauma. So post-traumatic stress disorder, aka PTSD, we hear it all the time, right? Is a real disorder. Like it really is a thing. It develops when a person has experienced or witnessed a scary, shocking, terrifying, or dangerous event. Most of the time we think PTSD, we think war, we think soldiers, right? They go over, they come back, they're not the same. I dated a guy that was in the service, and I remember when he came home, I spent the night at his house, and this nigga had his gun under his pillow. It was the most terrifying thing. He woke up from like a nightmare and grabbed for his gun. I was like, you know what? So I'm going to head out. This doesn't feel safe. It doesn't feel like I'm going to make it through the night. And so I don't want to be a part of this. But it really is a real thing. Listen, forgiveness is hard, but as I tell you guys all the time, forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for you, because you are the only person that keeps you in bondage and keeps yourself in jail, because you're still holding on to something that person probably forgot a long time ago. Don't realize they even offended you. They harmed you. It's not that serious. They let it go. may not even have been intentional, right? And so forgiveness is hard. I'm not just preaching to y'all, I'm preaching to myself. Forgiveness is hard. It is a lot of work that has to go into forgiving people. But I promise you, when you get there and you forgive that person for you, so you can heal and begin to heal and move on, life becomes a lot easier. You're walking around with a dark cloud that you're creating. I don't know about you guys, but I was in Vegas. It was 45 degrees here, and y'all was cold, and it was 69 degrees in Vegas, and I was letting the sun hit my face and the wind blow through my hair. That's all I'm saying, right? I like the sun. I want to feel the sun. I want to feel the breeze. And I cannot do that if I continue to walk around with a dark cloud of unforgiveness. If I don't forgive somebody, it's like, ugh, yes, it is, right? It is like pulling teeth with no anesthesia, right? But sometimes you just got to go on and pull them teeth. Would you rather have those toothaches? Would you rather let those wisdom teeth grow in and curve and now they're poking your gums and now you have more pain? Or would you rather the dentist pull it? He just ran out of anesthesia, right? Oh, he's not going to have any in for weeks because, due to COVID, there was a shortage. So are you going to go weeks and months with that pain, or are you going to toughen it up and just get it done? Pain is temporary. The thought of forgiving someone, even though they may not deserve it, let that be a temporary thought. Everyone deserves forgiveness. Some people more than others. And again, forgive that person for what they did not know. They did not know how to love you. They did not know how to treat you. They did not appreciate you when they had you. They neglected you. They abused you. They love bombed you and then decided to become a narcissist. They love bombed you and then decided to become physical with you. They snatched you away from everything that you loved and all your family and friends, and then decided that they were going to walk out on you. They allowed you to become codependent. They allowed you to become a love addict, and then they left. And that's it. Forgiveness does not equate to re-entry into your space. Forgiving someone is different, right? It doesn't require that you have any interaction with that person. You don't have to even talk to that person to know that you want to forgive them. It doesn't even matter if they know you forgave them. Again, we forgive people for ourselves so that we can stop holding on to whatever it is that they've done to us. We forgive people because I don't want to say it's the right thing to do, because I ain't about to preach to y'all, but we forgive them because that's a heavy burden to walk around with. Being mad and getting angry and getting triggered every time you think about that thing that person did. Just let it go. Let it go. So I'd rather the dentist pull out my teeth with no anesthetics than to walk around for the next few weeks and months in pain. So just a little tidbit. And we talked about forgiveness. We had an episode on that. Feel like I need to have a part 2. So we're going to get into that. So with PTSD, these stressful or traumatic events usually involve a situation where someone's life has been threatened or severely injured, or a severe injury has occurred. So children and adults with PTSD may feel anxious or stressed even when they are not in the presence of danger. Yeah, forgive and forget. Definitely working on the table again. I'm glad to hear that. Listen, forgiveness, it takes a while. It is not it is not an overnight thing. It is not an overnight thing. So what is the cause of PTSD? You can get PTSD after living through or seeing a traumatic event, such as war, a natural disaster, sexual assault, physical abuse, or a bad accident. PTSD makes you feel stressed and afraid after the danger is over. You ever been like stressed or fearful? Your body tenses up. You might even start sweating, shaking, your palms and all of that. Like your heart's racing. Feels like it's about to jump out your chest. You get those butterflies in your stomach. Right. So PTSD makes you feel stressed, right? It affects your life and the people around you. So PTSD starts at different times for different people. Signs of PTSD may start soon after a frightening event and then continue, while other people develop a new or more severe sign months or even years after the event has occurred. PTSD is often related to the seriousness of the trauma. How serious was this trauma? I mean, I think all trauma is serious, right? Whether the trauma was repeated or not, what the individual's proximity to the trauma was and what their relationship is with the victim or perpetrator of the trauma, those are the determining factors. So to be considered for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, signs and symptoms must last more than a month and be severe enough to interfere with school, work, or relationships. Tay Boogie, you gonna have to come sit down on my couch, honey. I don't know if you got a therapist, but you gonna have to come sit down on my couch, okay? PTSD can happen to anyone, even children. You see my you see my thing down there. I don't know if my Instagram is on there. Melanated _vibrations. Okay, DM me. Find my page and DM me, Tay Boogie. We're gonna have to have a conversation. So what are the signs and symptoms of PTSD? So flashbacks or feeling like the event is happening again, trouble sleeping or nightmares, feeling alone or detached from others, losing interest in activities, problems remembering, negative belief about themselves or others. You start to believe negative things that just aren't true. You're irritable. You feel very vigilant. So you're always on like guard and you're always like just right. I feel like being from Philly kind of does that to you. You know what I'm saying? For those out there that's from Philly, I feel like it does. I feel like being from Philly is like survival of the fittest. I feel like we in Iraq and that's what it feels like, a war zone in Philly. I feel like being from here and then going to places where people genuinely want to show you hospitality. And then you sitting there looking at everybody like they're on an angle, and it's like, nah, nigga, why you being so nice? Nah, move. You want something? It's like they really don't. That's just who they are. Yeah, I feel like that's what Philly does to us. That's what I feel like Philly does. Yeah, I feel like that's what Philly does to us. It's absolutely crazy. So I have a quick video I want to show you guys about PTSD.
What does PTSD look like? You have 4 groups of symptoms. Intrusion symptoms, where memories of the event just pop into your mind at times that you don't want it to. And this can be nightmares, or it can be thoughts that happen during the day. There's avoidance symptoms of things that remind you of the trauma. Someone who had a bad car accident may never want to drive again or even get into a car again. Then there's negative thoughts or moods associated with the trauma. An example of this would be someone who feels like they just don't think that they're going to live very long. They don't necessarily know why. That's just a feeling that they have. Or they have the constant thought that something else bad is going to happen. The 4th group of symptoms involve being on edge or hyperreactive. And this is where you can get the anger outbursts. Or the person can have trouble sleeping because they're checking locks in the middle of the night. To have PTSD, you need 1 or 2 symptoms from all 4 groups occurring at the same time.
So there you go. That is PTSD. So I want to, before we get into our not too much, let's have a quick word from our sponsors. And that is from our sponsors. Now, listen, people. Okay, it is 2024. I ain't saying y'all got bad credit. I don't know. I don't know y'all. Right? I don't know y'all. I don't know what y'all got going on. But what I'm saying is, this is a great year, and it's still the beginning of the year to start off fresh. Do you need your LLC done properly? You started it. You let somebody do it. You ain't never got your EIN number. Right. Do you got a long-term goal, short-term goal? You want to buy a property? Do you have a certain amount of money you want to save? What is it that you're looking for? I think everybody should go on and head on over to Capital Crafts. Okay, that's what I think. Because what we're not going to do is be broke in 2024 and forever. We talked about this on the show, generational curses, right? Breaking those generational curses. It's never too late to start breaking those generational curses. So I implore and encourage everyone to go head on over to Capital Craft and go on and see what they about. Go and get that credit right, okay? Go on and get that money right? So there is so much money out there for minorities, right? Let's go and spend somebody else's money to buy that duplex, that triplex, that quad, that apartment complex, okay? That building that we wanted. Let's go on and learn how we can be more marketable financially and credit-wise so that we can go on and get the stuff that we want to be able to leave our kids. I'm talking about being exclusive, exactly. Okay, we want to be able to leave our kids something. We want to be able to retire. You know, they just pushed the retirement age back, I believe. What is it, 72? Who the hell is working until they 72? I don't know about y'all, but I got a retirement in the next 15 years. And honestly, if I can get this credit and stuff together, and get this money flowing, with Capital Crab Baby, I'm at 15 years, it's gonna be cut in half. Okay, you understand what I'm saying? So if you have not already, go on and head on over to their Facebook page. Okay, answer them couple questions. Come on into the group. Okay, go on and learn yourself something. Okay. And learn it the right way. You got African American men that are willing to take what they know and teach us. You don't have a lot of that in the community, okay? Because people want to charge you millions of dollars to give you information that costs them nothing to get. So here we got African American men willing to give us information, teach us, learn us something, help us to be better in the Black and brown community, because this is how we're going to break our generational curses. So, now that we got that out the way, our not too much segment of this show. Okay, so I was scrolling social media yesterday, kind of looking for inspiration on my not too much, and I came across that Amazon Prime, for those that have Amazon Prime, just dropped the Lake Lanier movie. Oh my God, I can't wait. I'm going to rent it and buy it. But as I'm looking on social media, I follow the Shade Room. One of the directors, William Anderson, tells us that people decided to be very racist and drop a lot of comments about the movie. So for those that are not familiar with Lake Lanier, or have heard bits and pieces about Lake Lanier, let me go and give you a little history on Lake Lanier. So before it was a lake, the land on which Lake Lanier was built were homes to a thriving community known as Oscarville. In the early 20th century, Oscarville was historically Black. It was a historically Black town, bustling with life, housing around 250 families. The town was characterized by its farmland and local businesses. Yes, Black folks, we was out there being farmers and having businesses, having stuff that was ours, which played a significant role in the community's culture and economy. However, Oscarville also bore witness to racial violence, because why wouldn't it, right? We just be out here minding our Black-owned business. Right. Including the wrongful conviction and lynching of young Black individuals. Hey, Auntie, in 1912. Followed by the forced expulsion of Black residents from the county. You heard about this, Tay Boogie? Right. So Lake Lanier's approval process. So let's talk about this approval process, how it became Lake Lanier. So congressional approval came in 1946 with the River and Harbor Act, which covered waterways across the country. Congress appropriated money for the new projects that included $45 million for Lake Lanier. $45 million to build a lake. 56% of that budget went on for design and construction. 44% was spent to buy up the necessary land and relocate families. The lake's original intent was to be served as a hydroelectric power source to provide water for a fast-growing Atlanta and operate as a flood control mechanism for the region. If you know the story of Lake Lanier, you know damn well they ain't relocate them Black folks. They killed them, buried their bodies, it became a cemetery, and then they still decided to build over. So Lake Lanier is the largest lake in Georgia. It is one of the deadliest in the U.S. since its formation. 500 people have died there, nearly 200 since 1994. About 11 million visitors descend upon its shores every year. There's no way in hell I'd go there knowing the history of Lake Lanier, but okay. But the lake's popularity doesn't explain the high number of fatalities. They say it's a lake, Lake Altoona, 40 miles to the west. It receives close to the same number of visitors every year, but has 1/3 of the deaths that Lake Lanier has. Drownings or motor vessel accidents are usually the culprits. This is usually how people die on Lake Lanier. There is no upward or downward trend and no way to predict year after year how many victims the reservoir will claim. Sadly, what many of these deaths increasingly have in common is the race of the victims. So, for those that know the story of Lake Lanier, they say that Lake Lanier is haunted and that the souls that died when they decided to use eminent domain to force those Black people out, to kill them, to make a cemetery, those are the souls that are trapped, and that is the souls that pull the people down when they go for a swim, when they get in their boats, just anything. I want to play this video. This is my not too much video. Not too much colonizers.
Alright, so do y'all remember this racist comment about our Lake Lanier movie? Another movie that's racist against white people. We should ship y'all, blah, 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 blah. This comment from Mom of Melina is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I took your advice. Here's the proof right here. This is what I said. I'll let y'all know when I get a reply back, and it should be pretty interesting. Hey, Lanier movie's out now. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out.
That is one of the directors. That is William Anderson. Please make sure you guys go and support it on Amazon Prime. He is a Black director in his Black History Month, people, but it's Black History Day, all 365 and 66 on a leap year. It does not just stop in February. So, not too much mayonnaise, people. Okay, respectfully, disrespectfully, not too much. It feels like anytime we begin to tell our side of the story and not the side that you guys wrote in books, they get pulled in by the past. Right, exactly. Right. Disgraceful, right? That you can go and take a thriving Black community. Thank you, Auntie. That you can take. Yes, Auntie. Thank you, Auntie. It is amazing to me that these Black people that was minding their damn business, thriving, farmland, businesses, being productive members of society, even though you ripped us out of our native country, dragged us over here, bored us here, we made the best of our situation. We took lemons and turned it into a lemonade. And because you all wanted the land, you thought it'd be okay to relocate us, hence kill us, turn it into a cemetery, and then decide to put water on top of it to bury the sins that you guys created. Dear white people, not too much, okay? This is 2024. This generation is very different than our grandparents and even some of our ancestors. But I thank our ancestors for having the courage to stand up. But this generation here is 10 times worse. So if you think for a second that you will silence us and we will not tell our side of the story of how you guys rip and tear through everything, take from us, put your name on there, patent it, and then try to hush us up. It's crazy to me. So not too much, white people. I ain't trying to hear all that shit from y'all. Go on and stream the movie. Go on and rent it. Go on and buy it. It is called Lanier. It is on Amazon Prime. As you can see, the man that just spoke is one of the directors. Let's run it up like we run up every other movie. Okay, the way motherfuckers was out here falling all over to go see Barbie. I didn't want to go see Barbie. You know why? My daddy didn't let me play with white Barbies when I was growing up. If it wasn't a black Barbie, my dad wouldn't let me play with it. That was just it. That was just how I was raised. So, not too much white people on this movie. We're going to tell our side. It always feels like things become racist or they're lies when we start exposing the truth of what you guys really did to us and what you guys continue to do to us. And God gave us a mouth, so we're going to use it. We're going to tell our side of the story. You don't have to like it. You don't even have to support it. But as Black people, what we're going to do is we're going to run it up and show them that this economy would not function if it were not for us. Yes. Perfect. Yes. Tay Boogie. Yes. Central Park. Black Wall Street. We were there. We had it all. And every time we built something, you guys tear it down, you burn it down, we rebuilt, you do the same thing. I always say, as much as I like museums, I kind of hate museums because everything in the museum is snatched and ripped from a different culture. White people don't have culture. They don't. They have nothing. Hey, Creamy, they have no culture. They have no rhythm. They have no food that they specialize in. There's nothing that they have that you will find in a museum where they can honestly say that it is theirs. Everything you find in a museum is something that belonged to a different culture that they're refusing to give back, or they try to charge them billions of dollars to buy back something they stole. This could be a whole conversation. Again, it's Black History Month and I'm choosing violence. So I want to thank you guys for joining Melanated Vibrations each and every Monday at 7 p.m. It doesn't stop here. Okay. Again, it's Black History Month, Black people. Okay. Y'all see it. Y'all see the shirt, dope Black mental health counselor, baby. I'm going to be wearing stuff like this. Y'all know how I get into it. Okay. I want to thank you guys for joining Melanated Vibrations each and every Monday at 7. It doesn't stop here. Tomorrow is Tuesday. Make sure you tune in to the Big Exclusive podcast with Big Exclusive, Angry OG, and Top Flight. I have no clue what the topic is going to be, but I'm so interested. I will be in the comments. I will find you guys in the comments. Then you're going to jump on over to Thursday with the Ant Money Experience. My bro, Ant Money, straight violence. I'm super excited. I actually know what this topic is going to be, and I'm super excited. Make sure y'all go on YouTube, okay? I didn't forget. Make sure y'all go on YouTube and hit the join now button, okay? Tiffany Ann, our El Presidente, our friend, the one that is always riding for us. She got a show coming, Sex Parent. It premieres in March. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be spicy. And that's why you got to have a membership for it, okay? You got to have a membership in order to go on and hear the content. Thank you, Sonia, of what we are going to talk about. Lastly, as I told you guys in the beginning, I'm super excited. I am hosting a Chat and Chew 1 year celebration of Melanated Vibrations podcast, March 9th. Mark your calendars, okay? Put on your calendars now, okay? The event starts at 7:30. We are currently working on a flyer. I'm super excited about it. You guys will be able to purchase tickets on Eventbrite, okay? And this just ain't no ticket like, oh, you're just going to come and hear me talk. No! I'm going to have a panel of my colleagues come, and we're going to talk mental health. So I want you guys to just think about whatever questions you guys are going to want to ask. We are going to be candid. We're going to be open. We are going to break the stigma of mental health. March 9th at 7:30 p.m. Make sure you guys be on the lookout on my page, the Big Exclusive, Tiffany Ann's page, anybody that's a part of the BEN, okay? We're going to be posting the poster soon with your tickets, okay? Because, you know, Dom don't do nothing half-step, baby. I don't half-step nothing. So with the purchase of your ticket, not only are you going to have 3 master-level clinicians there to talk mental health with you, it's going to be food, y'all. It ain't gonna just be like no finger foods. Like it ain't gonna be like no, you know, basic stuff. Y'all know I don't do basic. I have hired a private chef, a chef that I've been using for the last 4 or 5 years. His food is absolutely amazing. If you've ever come to any of my events, his name is Chef Damien. He used to be a head chef at Ocean Prime, but the food is for our VIP tickets, okay? And they are going to go fast because I'm not putting a lot of VIP tickets out there. So with your VIP tickets, there is foods, there will be grab bags, there will be alcohol, there will be a cash bar, it's going to be champagne, complimentary champagne. I'm just so excited to celebrate my 1 year anniversary. And on top of that, it's going to be a live show. Boom. Y'all about to be part of my audience. Y'all ain't even know. So y'all ain't even know. Y'all didn't even know how I was bringing it, okay? It's going to be a live show, Q&A, 3 master-level clinicians, panel style, where we are going to talk all things mental health. VIP tickets, make sure that when they drop, you grab them up. It's going to come with some delicious food, cash bar, complimentary champagne. It's going to be a time, okay? A time is going to be had, okay? And you don't want to miss it, because when them tickets run out, baby, they run out. There will be no sales at the door. So y'all make sure y'all come show your girl Dom some love so we can celebrate Melanated Vibrations. Make sure you come and support and show the BEN some love, okay? Yes, YouTube members get a discount, okay? That's how we coming, okay? All right. Big event, March 9th, starts exactly at 7:30, because I know sometimes Black folks, y'all like to be late. Y'all like to be on CP time. I'm trying to tell you, you do not want to be late to this event. It is going to be insightful. It's going to be amazing. The two young ladies that I have, thank you, Hannibal, coming. They are, listen, they on top of their stuff. Like, I know my stuff, but it's going to just be a great night, and I'm super excited. I'm super happy for all the support that I'm getting from my friends who are helping me along the way to plan this event. I'm so excited. So make sure you guys mark your calendar, March 9th at 7:30 p.m. As we end the show, as we are going forward, the topic is I like that for you. It's Black History Month. So, you know, I'll watch without saying anything. I like to observe. I hope that the night family thoroughly enjoy the show. Thank you, Doc. I am so glad to hear that. Listen, you got to comment when you are comfortable to comment, and I'm glad that you felt comfortable tonight. So definitely make sure you come back, and when you come back, make sure you bring some folks with you, okay? Make sure you bring some folks with you. So as we end the show, as we always do, I like that for you. It's Black History Month. So I'm going to choose some violence on the way out. I love you guys. I'll see you in the comments on the Big Exclusive Podcast, the Ant Money Experience. And then I'm going to see y'all over there at YouTube in the Members Club, so we can go on and support our girl Tiffany Ann for Sex Parent, okay? I love you guys. Bye.
Shabuya, shabuya, roll call. My name is Rosa. Yeah. They say I'm supposed to sit in the back, but I'm tired here, so I'm finna sit right closer. Yeah. Come get me up then. It's gonna take about 3, 4, 5 men. And I ain't finna repeat myself again. Fight me. Somebody get her. My name is Eve. Yeah. I didn't believe. Yeah. I trusted Satan, ate that apple, he deceived. Yeah. And yeah, I'm naked. I thought I was awakened. I'm the first to do it. Y'all my daughters, we related. Yeah. Trick on Big Harry. Yeah. Don't call me slave hoe. The hell? From the underground railroad, busted down mouth and dope. When I say run, you better go. In the dark, that Glocky glow.